Months ago, I was really struggling mentally and emotionally, and just there was so many things that were adding up, and I wasn't able to enjoy any of the things that I owned.
That stuff's not gonna matter to you.
None of the actual things did anything because I was so hurt and I was so confused and I was so sick and there was all these things and I was like...
The you of then was on a path of self-destruction.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would have, for sure, 100%. Yeah, it was bad. I don't know if I'd be alive, for sure. It was dark. So I'm very, very grateful to have influences in my life that have played a huge part in me seeing their relationship with Jesus and their relationship with their wives and their relationship with their kids and saying that's what I want. But I want to definitely tell my story so that if that resonates to anybody, that they can hopefully. But yeah, just protecting those moments because people take for granted encounters and
I'm feeling like we've been watching a masterclass in the attention economy, one where love and brand strategy keep trading places on the marquee. Maybe it's romance, maybe it's rollout, maybe it's both at once. But if the pattern, bienveillance, really is the plan, then the clock is ticking. Because every marketing trick has a shelf life and audiences always notice when the script starts repeating itself. I'm feeling curious about you though. Do you think we're witnessing a real relationship under pressure or a calculated cycle built to keep them trending? If the headline suddenly stopped working tomorrow, would the love story still stand on its own without the trailers and teasers? If this breakdown hit something true for you, tap like, hit subscribe, ring the bell, and tell me what you're seeing in the comments. Your read might be the spark for the next deep dive. Then, here's where I take it next. The moment when the machine starts to sputter. You can almost feel it, the soft click of the gears that used to whir on command, the pause between rumor and reconciliation getting longer, the photos looking a little too posed for the emotions they're meant to sell. That's the danger zone for this kind of narrative gymnastics. When the audience learns the choreography, the gasp turns into a yawn. You don't stop watching because you hate them. You stop because you can predict the next beat, and prediction is the enemy of awe. What keeps this game alive for a while is precision timing. A vague sighting here, a silence there, a tidy reappearance just as a rollout needs oxygen. But timing cuts both ways. If a tease lands offbeat too early to matter, too late to save the cycle, the spell breaks. The couple doesn't even have to slip up publicly. All it takes is a new, shinier story to steal the oxygen they've been recycling. In a feed where novelty is king, even the prettiest lip becomes wallpaper. There's also the cost nobody sees on a spreadsheet. Perform a story long enough and it starts performing you. The facial muscles that hold a camera-ready smile remember the tension after the lens caps. The clever caption you wrote on autopilot lingers like a draft in the room. The strategy demands you be both sincere and cinematic, but those are different muscles. And working them at the same time is how people pull something. That's why the biggest risk isn't cancellation, it's erosion. Not a scandal, just a steady sanding down of whatever made the relationship feel like a heartbeat in the first place. If they want to keep the crown, they'll have to do the thing a strategy can't. Surprise us with something that doesn't read like strategy. Not a denial, not a kiss cam, not a slow motion sunset. An off-script human moment that doesn't loop back into commerce 24 hours later. That's the only reset that works once the pattern is public knowledge. Anything less is just a remix of the same 8 bars. You and I both know how this ends if nothing changes. The headlines shrink. The memes do the talking. The photos still get likes, but the comments say it out loud. We've seen this episode. And when attention moves on, what's left is the question you floated at the start, the one that cuts through all the glitter. When the cameras blink and the calendar clears, is there a love story that breathes without the marketing, or was the marketing the only part that ever really breathed? If this hit home, drop your take below. I'm reading everything. And if you want the next chapter, how to tell a genuine reset from the recycled plot twist, stick around. Here's the turn the story could take if they really want to break the loop. Stop beating it. Not a coy pause, not a breadcrumb drought, an intentional quiet season. No soft launch selfies, no reaction shots, no caption puzzles. Just work. When the machine can't latch onto fresh tension, it sputters, and that's when audiences relearn how to engage with the art without needing a subplot to justify the click. Silence alone isn't a strategy, though. It only lands if there's something sturdier underneath to carry the weight. That means doing the unglamorous stuff relationships need but PR can't package. Boundaries that aren't performative, fights that aren't content, reconciliations that don't have a photographer hiding in the shrubbery. The algorithm hates that kind of boring. Most healthy things are. If they feel they owe clarity, one clean, non-teaser statement can do more than a month of curated moments. Not an essay, not a notes app novella, just enough honesty to close the door on speculation and keep the rest private. Then hold that line when the cycle tries to bait them back. Consistency is what turns "we're not performing this anymore" from a posture into a policy. The harder reset is riskier but real. Show us something that can't be monetized tomorrow. A messy truth in long form where the cameras aren't flirting and the beats don't hit on cue. Or better yet, no tell all at all. Just choices that contradict the old choreography, different rooms, different pacing, different priorities. Audiences notice when behavior changes, even if nobody narrates it. If they don't or can't pivot, the fade won't be explosive. It'll be quiet. Coverage will get shorter. Photo sets will sit in the feed like stock images, pretty but inert. The people who used to defend them will get tired of defending a pattern. The people who used to drag them will get bored dragging a rerun. That's how relevance really slips. Not in scandal and sameness. There's also a humane endgame we don't talk about enough. If the story eventually becomes "we tried and now we're done," dignity beats drama every time. A clean exit with ordinary grace will outlast a spectacular implosion. The public has a short memory for fireworks and a long memory for respect. As for us, the viewers, we get a vote on what survives. If we only click when there's crisis, we'll keep getting crisis. If we reward the quieter, steadier stuff albums without Easter eggs, premieres without planted rumors, love without a trailer, the incentive structure shifts. It's not as thrilling, but it's healthier for everyone, including the parts of us that forgot how to enjoy a story that isn't shouting. So maybe the real plot twist isn't a breakup or a baby or a secret track. Maybe it's two people choosing to be a couple instead of a campaign, even if that costs them a few viral news cycles. If they can pull that off, the brand might shrink, but the life might breathe. And if they can't, we already know the ending. Another arc, another reset, another round of here we go again. Your move love story. There's one more layer people underestimate. The parasocial contract. Audiences feel invested because they've been invited in caption by caption, selfie by selfie, so when the couple pulls back, it can feel like a betrayal. That's the boomerang effect of oversharing. You train the room to expect access, then pay a tax when you reclaim privacy. The fix isn't to reopen the window. It's to reset expectations and tolerate the temporary backlash while a new baseline takes hold. Brands read that room too. They don't just sponsor faces, they underwrite narratives. If the story turns from glossy romance to exhaustive rerun, the alignment risk goes up and the checks get smaller. The safest commercial posture becomes the most boring one. Timeless, not trending. It's less money today for more longevity tomorrow. Most careers are built on exactly that trade. Media literacy is the real unlock here. Once you spot the loop, you stop letting it pick your pocket. You can like the photo without writing fan fiction in the comments. Enjoy the music without grading the marriage. Watch the movie without demanding a red carpet duet. The more people do that, the harder it is for any PR machine to turn intimacy into an infinite content farm. If the couple wants out without a spectacle, they can treat the next 6 months like a rehab for the narrative. Fewer breadcrumbs. Zero cliffhangers. Real milestones announced like normal people. A project when it's ready, a trip when it's over, a silence that means nothing at all. The algorithm will sulk. It always does. Then it will move on because it always does that too. And if they don't change course, the ending won't be dramatic. It'll be predictable. Another rumor cycle, another reconciliation montage, another rollout cushioned by déjà vu. The audience will keep clicking until something shinier steals the oxygen. Or until they finally notice they've been watching the same episode with different outfits. The irony is that the smallest, quietest choice might be the bravest one, to let the relationship be boring in public so it can be interesting in private. If the love story is real, it won't need the scaffolding. If it isn't, the scaffolding won't save it. Either way, the reveal arrives the same way most truths do, not in a headline, but in what keeps happening when nobody is looking. There's a quieter truth beneath all the noise. scarcity still sells. When a couple stops treating their relationship like a 24/7 broadcast and starts treating it like a limited release, the story regains tension because absence restores value. Proof of life posting goes where fine photos drop like press releases works until it doesn't. After a while, audiences clock the choreography and skim right past it. But if the feed goes still and the work gets louder, curiosity slowly resets from spectacle back to substance. It's the difference between living on the Explore page and living in people's heads. Publicists understand this better than anyone. The first play is always volume, flood the zone, grab the zone, grab the first play is always volume, flood the zone, grab the zone, grab the hub the cycle, make the rollout feel inevitable. The second play is discernment, kill a few good photos, let a rumor die unchallenged, save oxygen for moments that actually move the narrative. The third play, the hardest one, is surrender, accept that not every beat belongs on camera, and that mystery is not the enemy of relevance, but a requirement for it. If you've ever wondered why some pairs feel iconic while others feel everywhere and nowhere, it's usually because the former let time do some of the talking. The audience has agency here too. We reward what we rehearse. If we keep treating, keep treating every lull like a clue and every candid like a confession, we'll keep getting the same reheated drama with a fresh filter. If we start letting projects stand on their own, the incentives tilt. The couple doesn't have to perform a relationship to market a record. They can just make a record. It sounds quaint because the economy of attention taught us to conflate intimacy with interest. But interest can survive without intimacy. In fact, it often lasts longer. There's also the matter of endings, which in real life are rarely tidy. The cleanest exits aren't triumphs of PR, they're decisions about scale. You can end loudly and feed 100 think pieces for a week. Or you can end quietly and feed your life for years. If the pattern we've been watching ever collapses into a real fracture, the story will write itself without anyone's help. That's the risk of marketing a bond. When the bond frays, the brand becomes the narrative, and the human beings who built it become supporting characters in their own plot. Recovery from that takes discipline. Most famous people never get credit for saying less, moving slower, and resisting the reflex to turn pain into content. Maybe that's the final twist this era needs. Not a new rumor arc, not a surprise reconciliation, not a splashy joint campaign. Just two people who decide that relevance purchased with constant romantic jeopardy is too expensive, and that a smaller spotlight with a truer center is a better deal. If they choose that, the timeline will complain, then adjust, then forget to be mad. If they don't, the loop will keep looping until a different story steals the signal. Either way, the truth will show up the way it always does, not in a reveal, but in the pattern that emerges when nobody is trying to make one. Here's the moment the story either matures or withers. When the couple's choices stop syncing to the news cycle. If the next 6 months pass without conveniently timed sightings, without the familiar arc from rumor to reconciliation to rollout, you'll know the game changed. Real life has a different rhythm than PR messier, slower, sometimes boring, and that's exactly why it reads as truth. The algorithm can mimic a lot of things. It struggles with patience. If they keep playing the pattern, the audience will keep solving it faster. The thrill will bleed out of the reveal, and what once felt like romance will feel like onboarding to a brand. That's the quiet cost of overexposure. The heart gets replaced by a marketing calendar, and even the sincere moments start to look staged by association. You can't ask people to believe you when they've been trained to decode you. The saner path asks more of everyone. It asks the couple to leave engagement on the table in exchange for oxygen. It asks the press to pass on easy headlines and wait for actual news. It asks the audience to resist the itch to narrate strangers' lives like a choose-your-own-dash adventure. If even two of those three happen, the whole ecosystem changes less. Spectacle, more substance, fewer cliffhangers, better art. Maybe that's the ending this deserves. Not a twist, just a taper. Fewer grand gestures, fewer engineered scares, a relationship that becomes smaller in public so it can be stronger in private. If there's a love story worth keeping, it'll survive the silence. If there isn't, no amount of choreography will. Hold it together. Either way, the truth doesn't need a trailer. It shows up in the pattern of ordinary days. If this landed for you, tell me what you see shifting. Are you sensing a reset or another loop? And if you want me to unpack how to spot genuine course corrections and celebrity rollouts without getting spun by the hype, stick around. I'm already sketching that deep dive. Here's how you can tell a real reset from another lap around the track without turning it into detective work. The timing stops behaving like marketing. Sightings don't orbit release weeks. Announcements arrive when they're ready instead of when a rumor needs smothering. The rhythm goes offbeat in a way that feels almost inconvenient, and that inconvenience reads as truth because PR rarely chooses it. You'll notice the absence of monetization hooks. No soft launch selfies stitched to pre-orders, no reconciliation. Montage that doubles as a teaser, no we're fine post with a product tag hiding in the corner. When a couple is genuinely recalibrating, the content gets a little boring on purpose. Captions shrink. Photos look like life instead of layouts. The machine loses places to grip. The story stops needing antagonists. Manufactured arcs almost. Always cast a foil in X, a friend, a faceless source to give the plot something to bounce off. A real course correction doesn't triangulate. It closes the circle and leaves other names out of the frame. The drama cools instead of ricocheting. There's a change in the seams. Stage candor has smooth edges and flattering light. Real boundaries come with awkward gaps, missed carpets, unglamorous errand shots, nights that don't get posted at. You can feel the space where a content team would have filled the silence, and the silence stays. Coverage fades by design, not because the audience is bored, but because there's nothing new to feed it. Journalists move on, not out of fatigue, but because the couple stopped writing episodes for them. The brand tightens rather than sprawls. Partners start tying deals to the work instead of the relationship, and the relationship stops being asked to carry the work. Most of all, the follow-through holds. Not for a weekend, not for a rollout, but over a span long enough to break the old muscle memory. Weeks pass without a contrived cliffhanger. A messy headline lands and no one takes the bait. The camera catches something human and no one tries to spin it into a storyline. That's how you know the campaign ended and the life resumed. If the next chapter looks like that, the pattern you've been clocking will dissolve quietly, and the couple will feel smaller in public precisely because they're stronger in private. If it doesn't, the loop will keep looping until a louder story steals the oxygen. Either way, you won't need a think piece to tell you what happened. The cadence will.